Hello, welcome to TrueHoop with me, Jarod Hector, and TrueHoop founder Henry Abbott. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Good, and let us be the last people to wish you a happy new year.
What's the date today?
January 6th.
How
And
long
that
can
is,
we go? What's the latest you can possibly say Happy New Year?
I think probably January 2nd, but
Yeah.
that was an homage to former ESPN studio host Chris Berman, who would often have that woven into his various countdown and prime time. When for whatever reason it would the holiday would fall late on the calendar, but they still on a show.
Cool.
Let me be the last to wish you a Merry Christmas or whatever the stupid thing was.
Oh, that's cool.
It was cool. One of the things I enjoyed about Berman. Henry, some housekeeping notes. Here at TrueHoop, we are going to be changing formats a little bit. The podcast, which you guys normally receive on Mondays and Thursdays, will be going down to 1 day a week on Thursdays. We're evaluating various things, different content forms, different types of programming to give you different ways to tap into David Thorpe's big basketball brain, which is also very stretched and overworked at the moment.
Yeah,
so,
part of this is David's business of training players is going gangbusters.
Yeah.
And he's become a little bit, I don't want to call the guy out, but we usually have an 8 a.m. Monday morning meeting, and he kind of big timed us. Right?
He did.
Yeah.
Very busy. Gotta get on a plane. Can't do this now. I'm like, all right.
Okay. Not because he's not a hardworking, conscientious guy, but because he's just doing a lot of. He really is. I'm happy for him. It's doing really well. And in terms of kind of anything we ever do in media that's a format change, I'm a big fan of get all your I's dotted and your T's crossed and get it all perfect, and then go public with it. But just the reality of this month right now is that we don't have all our I's dotted and T's crossed, but we do need a little extra time. So it's going to be Thursdays. And then, until further notice, before too long, we'll show you how well we have dotted our I's.
Exactly. We will clearly show you the lovely dotted I's and crossed T's and periods and everything and all the
really
things.
Good. You're going to be that's a really good dot, is what you're going to think. Yeah.
Excellent. Ooh, look at that cross T. Very, very good. No, that's going to be us. Yeah. So just bear with us. Give us some time. And but please keep sending in your Ask Coach Thorpe questions. I will get those on Thursdays. That'll be a regular part of Thursday's show. We have a great question already about Ant-Man's mentality, which I'm really excited to get David's thoughts on. The Timberwolves, Henry, have actually been an interesting team, right? Metrically, they all check out as still being very good, but record-wise, so much.
You do want to win some games. I think that's a big, if you can, that helps a lot. Yeah.
Right. Metrics are one thing. You could be great on offense and defense, but the win column says, but you're just not winning at a high enough rate.
So we got that question about selfish versus team focused, and if I'm not mistaken, that night or the next night,
he scored 53 or something.
53 and a loss. Pistons.
Yeah, we're not very good.
That is not a good way to answer the question. Yeah.
No, definitely not. Yeah, so I'll be curious to what David thinks. I mean, look, the Wolves, they made a bet by moving on from Cat and getting Julius Randle in. And as David said at the beginning of the year, it's going to take them some time to work it in. I will say the Knicks seem to have figured their working situation a little bit quicker, and the Wolves have figured out their situation. And, notwithstanding is that Cat's just probably an easier plug-and-play guy because he's just such an elite offensive player. Not that Julius Randle isn't good offensively, but the way he gets to his offense tends to bog down the way your whole team wants to move. So
he's up valuable real estate.
Yeah.
He's good, though. I mean, I'm not
Yes. But it's a very politically correct way of saying he eats up valuable real estate. Yes, that's exactly what he does.
Yeah. He's like, let me stand here. It's like, bro, everybody wants to stand there. And the coach would nobody to stand there.
No, nobody stands here. Henry, do you remember when the NBA had its NBA action is fantastic like that? It's marketing commercial.
Yeah, that's how I was originally brainwashed. Yeah.
And that's how we all got brainwashed. And to be fair, NBA action was, and I think hopefully will always be fantastic. I mean, these are, in my opinion, the best athletes in the world, and they do some incredible fucking things on a regular basis.
JJ Redick agrees with you.
Yeah. He does. And we're very fortunate that we get to watch them. I think we'd all agree that we probably need to watch them a little bit less than we do, so they can keep doing those awesome things for a lot longer. But, we are where we are. Henry, this morning when we were talking, you said something to me that I thought was fascinating. You said, Jarod, I think it's 28 out of 30 teams kind of want to shed salary right now because, where we are right now, there are disgruntled superstars, various actors around the league that kind of want to get out of their situation, but I don't know that they have the recourse to potentially do that because almost every team is over the salary cap and just doesn't have space, and owners aren't really lining up to say, yes, I want to pay more luxury tax. And even the ones that do can't because of the way the new CBA works and really, really crushes you punitively when you're above that second apron revere tax. So it just doesn't make any sense to do it. And you're really not allowed. So I thought that was an interesting jumping off point, that we're in a very interesting point in the NBA sort of history, right? Where things could potentially be changing.
Yeah, let's be honest. I'm only talking as a Blazer fan, right? Like the Blazers have players with have good players with okay contracts, and I don't anticipate they'll all get great return because everybody has that, right? Like we're kind of like, if there's like, if I thought about it, I would have looked up what the media reaction was when the Heat got Jimmy Butler. I'm sure it was like Pat Riley did it again.
A genius,
it's
yes.
Heist, blah blah blah. But he has this massive contract, and he's 35 years old, that's even old outside of the NBA. And incredibly, he has a player option for $52.4 million for next year. A player option, which is devastating because it means zero of his value right now is in helping the team that he gets to reduce salary, right? Like, because he might opt in. He might not. Honestly, if I were like a really, really crappy team, I would trade for him and think that he won't join us, right? Some coach that he hates, right? Yeah. But so that's the model. Bradley Beal. The extreme end of this model is John Wall, who at one point made so much money the Rockets refused to play him, and then
sent him home.
I think we could find him saying that he was happier the following year when he made less than a tenth and did play. So this is the problem. The CBA permits these big name players, old big name players, to make the biggest salaries in the history of the NBA, but old players aren't that good.
No,
they just aren't. Like, it's a bummer. We have this story I published in 2021. I had to look it up. It's called less than 1% in the TrueHoop archives. So the point is 6% at that time. 6% of the league is 33 or older. That's 35 players, and 4 of them are elite. And that's basically like LeBron, Chris Paul. I think maybe KD made the
Steph, KD, but the usual suspects. That's it.
So if you want to look smart in the sports bar or wherever you talk about sports, like anytime a big name player who's 33 or older goes to a team, just tell them it's not going to work out. They're not going to win championship because it works. It's true every time. Like,
correct.
And so I'm rambling here, but the point is, Jimmy Butler seems to me to be a little bit of a watershed moment where, because so many teams are looking to shed salary, he fits the profile of a Bradley Beal or a Kevin Durant or one of these older players that I would predict is not going to win a championship in a new place. But it seems like in real time, because the market's overheated, there might not be a giant market for him. He might be the odd man out, which would be, I would take no special joy in that, but I think it's a little sign of the market correcting what the CBA did.
So that's interesting, right? So let's look at this from we think there's larger sort of macroeconomic trends here with the NBA. Look, we think the league is good and it's healthy, and based on their most recent broadcast media rights deal they signed, it suggests that they are 11 years, $77 billion. But you and I both know and agree that that's a money loser for all these media companies that are buying it, right? The ratings say so, right? I mean, I think the best Christmas Day game was the Lakers Warriors, and it did a 3-something maybe, which, I mean, a fucking regular season NFL game between the shittiest teams in the league will crush that by times 10, or not times 10, but times 7, so I don't know if the future of the league is very healthy economically in that current model, the way we're doing things now. And so is this market correction perhaps going to help the NBA get to a much healthier place economically?
I mean, I haven't thought about that, but my short answer would be no, because the players get 50 whatever % of the BRI no matter what. So it's really just a question of, like, are you giving it to Jimmy Butler or are you giving it to
young dude?
Right, young dude. Yeah. And that's where, you were pointing on the call, like Victor Wembanyama is worth way more than he's paid right
Right.
now. And guess what? Incoming rookies, they forgot to represent them in the CBA talks. So they took all their money and gave it to the old men who are really honestly, I honestly think what we're looking at right now is this is the LeBron generation, right?
Yeah.
Like LeBron and minions of LeBron, with names like Chris Paul, were totally active in the union for a little while there. And they put in this exact series of raises for people on the LeBron age timeline. And it was wrong. It was, it's not the way to build a team.
No.
It was correcting a problem, which was like when LeBron was, let's say, 24. I'm going to make up all these numbers, but you could do some kind of economic analysis where he was worth $100 million,
and he's getting underpaid for sure.
And he was only making like 20. So they were trying to correct that, and they did by giving Bradley Beal so much no one wants him. Right.
Unintended consequences, though, of doing that. Right. This is the other side of it. So is there ever a point where the league gets to where they and the NBPA agree on more of a, these capitalists of their free market systems where we get rid of these tiers of salaries and just say, okay, New York Knicks, Los Angeles Lakers, whoever, you are all in individual entities, operate your company as you would anything else. If you think the incoming draft pick that you just drafted is worth X, then you pay him whatever you think he's worth. If you don't, you don't. Right. And if, I think obviously to get rid of the draft, that way it's like how it would be when we graduate college, right? You go interview at a billion places, when whoever you think is the best place for you, you go there, and based on the money you take, blah, blah, whatever. Is that a place we could ever hopefully get to?
I would have said I don't think the reason we don't have that is because when the players are coming into the league, no one knows who's good. No one, by no one, I mean like no GM or billionaire, right? David might,
Yeah, David.
But Kevin Garnett out of high school getting what he got really frightened everybody, right? And so the risk is that you might have to give like $67 million 4 years to someone who will never even play a game, right? And then what happens is the GM and the billionaire look really stupid. They're not just losing money; they're losing face. And so they've set up kind of a welfare system where they every time they lose, they win again, right? So they get depending on how the contracts go and whether they're drafted, 2, 3, 4, 5 years to really see who's worth the money. The problem is, in the case of Victor, those are amazing years where they're dramatically underpaid. So then people like Victor go on the free agent market looking to get overpaid to make up for what they didn't make, or it's just kind of sloppy. I would say that I don't think they'll ever get rid of the draft because it protects owners in this way. But the one little wrinkle is the NWSL did that.
Yeah.
And if the sky doesn't fall, if their team valuations are going up,
they are.
I think it just people are very motivated by models, and if you can just see it's fine, the world's fine, then what will the argument be for not having it go next to men's soccer, and then and so on.
Right.
Actually, I think, am I right? No, men's soccer MLS has a draft, but I think there's been some conversation about getting rid of it there. So I would love it. I think it would be such a good. I think we want to put pressure on the front offices to be smart. And
I agree. And there's no draft in European football, like Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga. There's no drafts in those leagues. Not how that works.
And they don't work. I've said this a bazillion times, but I'm telling you, do your homework, talk to the people. They do not work to make parity. It's not true. What they do is they create cost certainty. This is the way. Imagine if we didn't have a draft. What would happen is there would be a bidding war for 20 prospects, probably, and that's very economically painful
and frightening
compared to this draft situation. When the draft was born, when an NFL owner was really mad that he was going to have to pay the incoming top player that he wanted more than his star got, and he's like, "That's ridiculous. I don't want to do that." And they're like, "Well, you're not going to get him if you don't do that." And he's like, "Well, make a system so I don't have to do that." And so they made a thing called the draft. That's why they made it. That's why we have it. It is not working to make the level the playing field between teams. It just doesn't have that effect, and we can talk about that another day.
No, you're 100% right. And my response to this, I always laugh, is because these billionaires who own these teams, this is not how they run their hedge funds and their other businesses that they make their billions of dollars off of, right? They believe in free markets and outbidding, right? All the ways that I'm like, hey, if you believe it there, work it here in this system, but we don't do it for us reasons. They want to look cool and, as you said, save face and all the things.
Well, they're like, I did this bunch of interviews with this European economist years ago, and he was like, "You guys are totally socialists, like, because like in Europe, like, just the owner pays for the stadium, and the owner has no salary cap and has to make good choices, and there's no draft. Like you guys have all of these like protections for the billionaires, from the draft to the public funded stadium, like all this stuff. He's like, it's just we laugh, like you think you're all capitalists. We're way more capitalist in sports in Europe."
Funny, socialist. Yet when it comes to the real world and like actually people, regular citizens, oh no, we don't want those protecting for you people. Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
And if you just do terribly, if you do absolutely terribly, here's LeBron.
Yeah.
Oh, you poor baby. You're so bad at this. Let me get you really. Oh, you got a boo boo. Oh.
Here's LeBron. I mean, that's what happens. You mentioned Jimmy Butler. So again, his trade market is limited, right, for that factor. Obviously, you talked about with just teams not having the space, and also what you mentioned as well, which is it even a good idea? Right? There's the $54 million player option, 52, excuse me, coming due that he may or may not opt to, depending on what's on the market for him, right? Unless he knows that somewhere else, because he said in an athletic report that it's not about the money. So if somewhere else and it's a better situation is willing to give him, 3 years at 80 million, 90 million, he might be like, I'll take that versus opting in. He might, I don't know. But let's talk about the mechanics, as you mentioned, of Jimmy Butler. The Warriors were a big team talked about. Should they sign him? You and I both agree no. Their fans will tell you yes because they want to maximize the Steph Draymond window. But I think no. Like I just don't like. Look, if you don't win it this year, right, by bringing him, it's just now going to be a lose-lose scenario the rest of the way. Plus, remember, you'd have to give up whatever the Heat want in return or the other teams to make it a three-way deal, which I would assume would be probably Andrew Wiggins, who's actually playing well again now that, which, by the way, Henry, really quick, like, newsflash, like, Andrew Wiggins' dad was really sick and died. Like, that's why he wasn't fucking playing well. It's not because he sucks. It's like, people are the fucking worst. Anyway, Jonathan Kuminga, like, you're probably going to give up those things, right? And then, if you don't win, well, now you're screwed because you got old Steph, old Draymond, old Jimmy, and no draft capital and no young people. So, good luck. Hope it was worth it.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have a conventional path to the title anymore, right? They're in like a Hail Mary kind of, they're down 6 points with 11 seconds left. So they're going to fucking hurl that fucking ball as far as they can, and maybe somebody will catch it, right? So like, this is the time you might do something crazy like this, right?
Yeah.
Like, I get it, because if you just play conventionally, like, yeah, they're gonna drift out of relevance with or without Jimmy Butler, right? It just makes me sad though, like, because the only reason that you wouldn't want Jimmy Butler if you're running the Warriors is because of how much he makes. It's the only reason, right? Other than that, like, you would of course want him. It might be perfect. It might be so fun. It might resurrect the NBA. It might make it so kids want to tune in and watch Steph win another title because he's like bopping around and shooting threes, and it might be good for basketball, but he's half a John Wall, right? Like he's just sort of unlikable only because of this money. And I wonder if he's gonna play. I mean, how crazy is it gonna be if he has to go back to Miami?
Oh man!
So he's probably not going to do that. But where is he going to go? You have to fit your $52.4 million somewhere, right?
Yeah.
There's a very short list of places that can do it.
Yeah.
Anyway? So to me, like, we're going to end up with this like just uninspiring use of this elite athlete, and another team where it's like, well, we're not really playing for now. We have Jimmy. We're hoping he's going to leave soon. Like,
right? Yeah.
Like it'd be so much better if he could just make $20 million and go join the Warriors now. I guess it would be for Andrew Wiggins. I'm not sure how it would work. Like, but these salaries are burdensome to everyone, to fans, to players. And I just it's something broken if we all just wish these wonderful players made less money. You know what I mean? And he's not gonna. I really would be surprised. He's made so much money from that big face coffee, $20 a cup. Are you kidding me? Like. Is this going to change anything in his life for real?
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
no.
This, if he makes 52 next year, it's really just about his ego and his status on the team. And I respect that. That's cool. But like, he's going to have the same car. He's going to have the same house. His kids are going to go to the same school.
Right.
Like,
nothing. That's the thing. Once you accumulate a certain amount of money, it doesn't matter at this point. Like for him, all these guys, LeBron, KD, stuff like that. An extra, that's not going to matter. Like everything is still going to stay the same, right? Like nothing literally changes in their life.
But if what makes you happy is like being part of a team that wins, now your salary is really hurting you.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I think for those guys, as we know, they're the ultimate. That's what they want. They want to win. That's why they're all so disgruntled right now, is because they're not winning. And I'm like, well, part of the reason you're not winning is because you make too much fucking money. Like, you know? And you know me, I'm never one to be like, these guys shouldn't get, paid whatever they're worth, blah, blah, all that. But this is the downside of it when you have a salary cap and all the restrictions that these owners want to protect themselves. Get rid of it. Then you don't have this problem.
I wonder. I mean, they're allowed to have non-guaranteed contracts. They just don't, right? Because the players have so much leverage, right? That they insist on it. But part of me is like, man, it would be kind of cool to have like a way that if Jimmy Butler goes to Golden State and they win a championship, he does make it 52. But if they don't, he gets money. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, like something like that. And it's just, it just doesn't work because everybody wants cost certainty. But that would be kind of cool, right? Where like, well, let's see. You think you're all that? Like, go prove it.
But let's see if it works. Another team that is rumored to potentially get Jimmy in because they could take the salary in because they have enough to move out would be the Memphis Grizzlies, and that's an interesting one because they would do it so that neither of the big three of Morant, Bane, or Jackson would be part of this deal. They wouldn't go anywhere, which of course I would agree with, right? Because if you move one of them to get Jimmy, like you're not winning the title, right? You need to keep all three of them and bring Jimmy in. Okay, they have the flexibility to do that. But then you get gutted in areas where we talk about Henry all the time, matters for the long haul, right? So Gigi Jackson, who I know hasn't played this year, but played well last year, he'd have to go, right? Maybe Vince Williams Jr. would have to go. Luke Kennard, who's a very good shooter, will have to, right? So these little things that, like, again, the average fan would think, oh, no big deal because our popular people stay. These people who, I know them, but like they're not as good as these main actors, or they don't think they are, but metrics really would tell you they're actually very good. They go away with some draft capital. Again, if the Grizzlies don't win, now what? Right? You've given up capital, you've given up on Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams Jr., and you got $54 million or $52 million Jimmy Butler, who's not going to play 82 games next season, right? Like,
yeah, it's a funny, like, other than the Thunder right now, I mean, I've been writing about the damn NBA for like my entire adult life. There's never really a conventional path to being 1 out of 30, right? It is a gambler's game, right? Like, there's a about to be like fifth best. Where it's like, oh, we're just gonna grow and get better, and and we're us under control. Like, it just usually it's like you have to do some really crazy high risk stuff to get to the 1 out of 30. It's literally like a lottery, right? The Grizzlies to me have like a pretty convincing case to make that they're just a little better at like kind of manufacturing Gigi Jacksons, right? Like, so if you can, I mean, I say this with the total respect for the man Gigi Jackson, who is not a product of a factory, but if you feel like you have the capacity to get another player from almost nothing, to be a Scottie Pippen level, Gigi Jackson level contributor, then I guess you can bet that you'll keep doing that.
Right.
In some cases with unsigned players, with undrafted players, right?
Yeah. Or second round picks like Jalen Wells. Awesome.
Yeah. And so to me, like, you might want to consolidate that advantage, right? You might want to say like, okay, well, in the future, we're going to have at all times 4 good up and coming 23-year-olds, right? Which is a miracle, but that's true. But would you want once in a while to turn it into a win now, like big name? Like maybe. It's very scary, and it might ruin everything. Like Jimmy Butler might blow up the team just for his personality. Right?
He might just show up and be like, "Oh no, it's over now."
Like, oh, I hope it's okay. Like, like it might be the smartest thing, or it might be the dumbest thing ever.
But that's it ties into this, like, it's the risk reward thing, right, Henry? Where it's like, okay, you're not going to get anything for nothing, so it's like, okay, here's the gamble. Was it worth it? Oh,
and playoff Jimmy is good.
Great.
Yeah,
but
33 was great.
Like, but how often are you going to get playoff Jimmy? And what about the other times?
Do it? Like, what, I mean, I haven't really looked at the actual trade machine. Like, what would
you? If I were the Grizzlies, and I think the trade scenario I saw only included Kennard, Marcus Smart, LaRavia. Did he go too? Who I like? Obviously, in the draft capital is a 3-way trade, so it seemed okay because I'm like, you keep Wells, who I like a lot. Gigi Jackson, of course, I mentioned Lee. Then you keep Vince Williams Jr. thing. I'm like, all right, that's good. So I think at that stage, yes, I would make the gamble. But if the Heat start asking for any of the wells, out. Then I'm nope. That's so you can. So that means the poker player. No way, not doing it. Not doing it. I've got my price. That's my number. If you don't meet it, oh well. I'm happy with what I have because we're still good.
That's a lot. I mean, like the Jake LaRavia package is not much for Jimmy Butler.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I
know. Okay, then would you like after the trade? Would you feel like they were where in the list of contenders?
Well, they're already third in the West right now, record-wise, I think, and that's with Morant missing a bunch of time. I would put them right up there with Oklahoma City as a legitimate, viable, and Dallas to come out of the West, right? And look, ultimately, if you get to the Western Conference Finals, that means you have a chance to go there, right? That's what that means. Now, as David always says, it's matchup dependent, right? Depending on who you draw. Maybe you draw a shitty first-round matchup that just doesn't work for you for whatever reason. Well, it doesn't really matter because now we're going to lose, right? It just all of it is so dependent on other things, other factors that we have no idea, right? But yeah, I like Memphis right now. I think they're fine. They've been clamoring, I should say, for a wing type player forever in this era. And yes, Jimmy would solve that obvious need. But to your point, comes with the extra stuff. Like, if they don't win, is it still okay, right? I don't know.
The other thing is, like, I don't know the exact number of teams that want to shed salary, but it's a big number. Mm-hmm. And so that means if we think about the dynamic of this, there are a ton of GMs who went to their billionaires and said, now we should go all in. We should pay luxury tax now, mm-hmm. or at least even just, forgoing the revenue sharing is a big thing, right? Mm-hmm. We should dip into our pockets really deep for now. And in almost every case, they were totally wrong, right? Right now would be the most incredible time in NBA history to be well below the cap. Mm-hmm. Then every Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal, like every team that has a big, like they're all calling you.
Yep.
And the deals, you could change your whole world right now.
Yep.
Right? The price of cap room is the highest it's ever been, right? The value of it. And no, everybody missed. Almost everybody missed. Only like the Thunder and the Celtics are like, yep, you are right to go all in now, right?
Yeah.
So in that environment, the Grizzlies have this clever way they can put together a package to relieve another team of a big salary.
Mm-hmm.
Is Jimmy Butler the best one you can get?
Yeah, that's the question. Is that the best you can get? Because I'm sure there are other disgruntled stars that we don't know about yet that
there are
looking to move away from their situation. That's when you got to do your homework. Listen, these guys get paid, I don't know, fucking $6-7 million a year. Man, earn your money. Yeah. Like, this is where you gotta, do your work.
Because like if there's like an AD or something, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what it is, but like you gotta like
figure it out.
Yeah.
Again, you get paid a shit ton of money, guys. Figure it out.
Oh, you're not talking to me.
Okay. All right, guys, we'll be back after a brief commercial break. Well, Henry, this brings us right to the team, as you mentioned, best poised to take advantage of everyone right now and set themselves up for success. They are so well positioned to win now, win later, win tomorrow, and that is the Oklahoma City Thunder. But I have a question. Are they going to do it? And the reason why I ask is because this team, as David always says, and we know, nothing's guaranteed in this league. I will take you back, Oklahoma City Thunder, your same franchise, to the year 2012, when you had a babyface Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, all 23 and under, and you went to your first NBA Finals. And you lost in 5 competitive games to the Heat. Actually, very close games except for the clinching game. And there's that picture of the three of them standing on the sidelines with their arms around each other and the towels over their head. Sad they were going to lose, but all the talk was, oh, don't worry, everybody. These 23 and under guys, they'll be back here in the finals for years to come. Henry, how many times did the Thunder go back to the NBA Finals after that?
None times, Jarod. None times.
Well, so this idea that, no worries, we're good, it'll happen. Will it? I don't know.
Yeah. No, there's no, I think it's like, this is going to be the weirdest, most complicated way I could possibly talk about this. Did you ever play Dungeons and Dragons?
No, but I know enough about it peripherally.
I barely did. It was like 20 minutes of 4th grade, but there's all those different dice. There's like the dice with the 6 sides and with the 12 sides, and there's one with like 72 sides or something, right? I think that's actually true. And you're in a bad situation if you're rolling a 72-sided die and you need a certain number to come up.
Mm-hmm.
The 6th one, we're all pretty familiar with
Better
that,
chance.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think if all you can do in managing your team is what the Thunder have done, which is, they got themselves down to they have like a 3-sided. I can't even picture it. Maybe that can't exist. But
Probably a 3-sided die, yeah, or four, four, four,
four.
four
You
probably
need
works.
4, right? That's
Yeah,
a little
4.
pyramid.
Yeah.
They got like the best,
Yes.
and you just at some point you just roll it, and like the
Mm-hmm.
ball bounces in or it doesn't, and you did your part in getting the odds as good as they could be, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one little criticism one could have of the Thunder is that they got a little cheap at a key moment of roster construction there, and didn't keep James Harden and other
For
players.
$5 million.
Yeah,
$5 million.
and we still don't know. Like, are they over that? They're reprehensible jerk owners. Are they? Not. I don't call them reprehensible because of this, but because of like
Right.
everything
Right.
else.
Yeah. All the things. Yeah.
But will they pay to keep this team together? Which is a big question. I don't know. So that could blow it all up. Like, it is a little weird. I was pretty harsh on them a year ago for not
going all in,
going a little more all in, and they did over the summer. They signed
2
players. But anyway, so yeah, they could if they just keep getting younger and younger and trading away like the good players. Then, but on the other hand, what's their record now? Like
30-5, 29-5, something like 29 or 30-5. Yeah,
and that without Chet Holmgren, a wonderful player by every measure, who solves real problems for them. Without him, they're just beating everybody, including good teams. Like, it couldn't get any better. They're still
like the Celtics Sunday night. Yeah. And this is probably what brought up this conversation. I watched that game with a different eye. Not that will they win or not. Like, okay, if this is a playoff series, what are different like moves they can make or whatever? And yes, admittedly, no Chet on the roster, but I will point out, Chet fractured his hip, so it's not like when he comes back on day one, he's going to be all NBA first team. Like, it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get his bearings back together and get himself established. And with the way the timeline looks, maybe they'll be in time that he has enough regular season run-up time to get to the playoffs. We hope. If it's any later than what they're projecting, it ain't going to look good from that standpoint. Okay. 1. When SGA is not on the
really fast though, but
yeah.
To my mind, no matter what, they're going to be in the second round of the playoffs.
I think so.
Which is May.
Yes.
That's when they need it. They're going to get it with
second round on.
right? So like, he's got till May. Like, not that he'll be great. He's coming back, but
yeah,
at some point he's going to matter. I would guess.
And he needs to for sure.
Yeah.
Second thing is when SGA is off the floor, I'm just like, how are you creating offense right now? Because I don't like how it currently looks. Yeah, I don't like how it currently looks. And look, it's unfair to be like, Jalen, you're not SGA. Well, because fucking no one's SGA. Like, fine, that's not what I'm saying. But can we? And again, they have, to your point, the capital, the cap space, all the things they need to get literally every single missing piece they need and not fuck anything up.
Yeah.
The question is, will they? Will their owners say, fine, let's fucking do it and roll? Because right now, they're already, by every metric, a title contender. They're not a favorite. They're a contender. They only need to add shooting, another secondary playmaker and creator. And honestly, Henry, like, I'm down, right? Like, they can win it, but will they? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So we could look at Vegas, but I'm going to guess like the top favorites most years are probably around 40% to win.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
You like the Celtics right now?
Yeah.
Something like that. So I feel like that's around what the Thunder are for me. So they're, I would say over the next 5 years, they're probably, 30 to 45% to win every year.
Yep.
Which is not exactly a prediction they'll win, but if you add it up, it's over 100.
Yeah.
Like, and they might just, because they do have younger players at every key position than whoever they're going to be up against. Just injury. It's more likely that the Celtics are just like, crap, we didn't have Jason Tatum that year.
Yep.
So not that he's so old, but
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, it could be that they're going to rip off like 3 out of 4 or something like that. I wouldn't shock.
Did you happen a chance to catch that Celtics game yesterday?
No, I
with
didn't.
The Thunder. They were down. Thunder were down 10 at half, and they held the Celtics like 27 points in the second half. I mean, they just now look. Some of it, yes, was the Thunder's incredible defense, which can scrambles, but also the Celtics shot 9% from 3. And a lot of them were shots that they normally make. As David always says, any one game, like weird shit happens. Like the Celtics shoot their normal average, they win that game, right? They didn't, whatever, fine. But there's just so many things about this OKC team to like, which, we've been beating drum for a long time. I just love watching them play. They're fun. And their best player, SGA, is involved in not just offensively, but defensively makes the biggest plays, steals and deflections. And Lou Dort was a maniac last night. Like, they're awesome in so many ways. It's like, and again, I'm not an OKC fan, so I don't care, but like their fan base, it'd be nice if their owners said, I know you guys are loving this. We're all in it with you. Like, let's really try to win this thing, and see what happens.
Like, Draymond was like, oh, it's a serious league. And
he was like, that team's not, all 10 of you win. I'm like, Draymond, that's because the way you work wouldn't function with the way these guys work.
I think they love each other, right?
They sure do.
I say, like, okay, Chet Holmgren has his hip injury, and like, I think it was on Instagram or Twitter or somewhere from the locker room was like, you're gonna have to get him without me tonight, boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then like later he's like, Lou Dort for like defensive player of the year, we riot or something like that, right?
Yeah.
That's just, like, most NBA players don't know how to think like that about their teammates. It just doesn't, like,
they punch him in the face instead.
Lou Dort makes a little more than I do, or he's gonna whatever take my minutes or whatever. Like no, this team has defeated that, and you can see it happening. I'm sure some of it's for show. I'm sure some of it's for the camera, but like, that's great. Like,
well, David's talked about ad nauseum on this show about how Mark Daigneault does the novel thing of actually talking to his players, which we know most NBA coaches do not do, right?
That's not, you guys were, I know it sounds a little flip, but like, this is David saying that he has clients around the NBA, and he'll very often ask them, what did your coaches say to you? Like, he had a young player who had an amazing game, like the best game of his young career. And he's like, what did your coaches say? And the answer was nothing. And then they had, I think, like some kind of like shoot around or whatever the next day was. Like, what did they say there? It's like, nothing. We're talking about the actual coaches, the coaching staff, not using words to talk to the player, often for days, right? And Mark Daigneault, like when Chet Holmgren was out, I had lunch with him once a week, and they would talk about, like, that's very, very, very rare in the NBA. And, we can blame, David blames coaches for just being, I don't know, he can tell you.
Yeah.
Like, I would say they're torn with distractions, right?
Yeah.
They have to deal with the media a lot. They have to deal with the bosses a lot. They have to do a ton of stuff. And they probably need time for like their family. I respect all that. Maybe somebody else needs to be, maybe like the associate head coach needs to be the actual like basketball director, right? But it is really weird to me that I think what really is happening is not exactly just you're busy. It's that it's a lot of politics and, like, if you screw up that player's shot, then you could get fired.
Yeah.
Or you whatever. So they just don't coach. And they don't coach very much. And that team coaches. And they're good at it. So, and they have Chip England, right?
Yeah.
They actually take players who are so at shooting and make them good.
Make them better. Proven. He's got a catalog of proof to show you. Yeah. It works.
Yeah.
But Henry, in an environment where job preservation is your number one goal, of course, right, which is what the NBA is. Everybody who has a job in the NBA there's only 29 other jobs like that exist. So, and everyone wants one of these jobs because they're of all the benefits, the money, the things that you get to come along with it. So, of course, you're only concerned about keeping it, right? But as I always say, but if everyone's doing well, that promotes an environment where you get to keep the thing that you covet so much, right? But for whatever reason, we can't see the forest for the trees there.
Yeah, there's not. Everyone's in a 4 season somewhere, right? They got 2 phones. They got like a room service. And if if you're like the 4th assistant coach and you lose that job, not that you make tons of money, but you make like the other job you can get outside of the NBA is maybe at a high school, right? And now you really might make $39,000 a year,
Correct.
and you might have to get your family to move, like it. So that's where people get real tight, right? They get real, and it's human nature, but it's also, I don't know. I feel like, do your job, man. Like, life is short. You're gonna die one day. Like, just if you're a basketball coach, coach basketball.
Yeah.
Like, just do it. Like, so what if you get fired? Like, do a different job. But this thing where you just kind of cling to the alone
power
time
teams
in the 4 seasons, it's not even that fun. I've been in the 4 seasons. Like, you're just another dick in a hotel room, like it's just like, they watch so much TV.
Yeah, dude.
Like, Maurice Cheeks was, he hated to miss a single day of his soap opera. I forget which one it was. So it's like, how great is that life? You know what I mean? You never
I
missed a
love
day
it.
of soap opera?
I love it. I love it.
Let it rip, man. Go win a championship. Do something, you know?
Oh, but to your point, Henry, right? Like, do the thing, right? Like, where you're opening up and you're connecting with your players on a human level. Because while we talk about these athletes and the amazing things they do, like they're automatons, they're not. They're fucking people. And the people who were able to connect with them on that way. And again, this is not an infomercial for David and why he's so great. But the reason I tell you this story is because it matters, and I constantly repeat it. When I go to arenas and I talk to players who are David's clients, I mention his name, their faces light up like fucking sunshine. Like, oh, that's my guy. Like, and grinning from ear to ear, right? Like, because again, I come walking towards them, they're like, fuck, media guy, what the fuck does he want, right? So already got the defenses and guards up. But the minute I say David, oh, like, all good. Like, it matters, people. Like, that has such fucking value. And what does it cost you to develop a relationship with somebody? Fucking nothing. Literally nothing.
Yeah, and there's no reason why, with the money they spend, they couldn't have 500 people around the league who have David's skill set, right? Like, I mean, you have to find them and foster them and whatever. But like, the fact is, like, think about what that means. If David's really good at his job and gets that facial expression, that means that other people aren't as good.
Correct. That's what that means. Yep. Back to job preservation.
Rare, right? Like, it doesn't have to. Why is that gotta be rare? Like, that seems, and there's all kinds of evidence. Like, I went way down the rabbit hole years ago on like military research. And long story short, if you love the people in your company, then you're a way better soldier. Like, measurably. Of course that's true, right? Like, and actually, I just listened to this Louisa Thomas, amazing New Yorker sports writer, has a story about a baseball player whose name is, I think, is something Bard, Daniel Bard, maybe, who was like a great pitcher, but he got the yips really bad, and then he threw a different way and came back and was really good. And anyway, his whole career he was like just super, super infinitely talented and wrestling with anxiety. And the team, like, at one point he was down in the minor leagues, and he'd been a top draft pick. He went to North Carolina, he was a top draft pick, and then he's fails and goes down to the minors, and then a coach says to him, he's basically had the yips, him in no control for months, and but the coach there says, "Hey, look, man, no matter how you do, I'm going to send a report saying that you killed us today." And it cured his yips.
I mean, Henry, that is the least shocking thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, oh, you have confidence and believe in me. Weird that I'm going to perform now.
That we could have more of that,
Like
we could have a lot
more.
What does
it cost you? That cost you literally fucking nothing.
Yeah. Hugs are free. Yeah.
Man.
Anyway, I just talked for like 7 hours. I feel like
we're good.
The caffeine's just right.
This is perfect. A great way to kick off the new year on the podcast. All right, folks. We will see you on Thursday. Everyone, take care.